I guess it feels sometimes right now like there's stress in the actual air.
Right. Most definitely. It's an opportunity for all kinds of things. Among other things, it's an opportunity for letting go. It's an opportunity to notice how much is reacting to mental imagery. Peace, trust, not in governments, not in media, not in institutions. They're not worthy refuges. They're not stable refuges. Well, again, worthiness is probably not the best word. It's dramatic to say that. I mean, I like that flourish, but it's not. I don't mean to sound condemning. It's just that the capacity is not there. They're not safe refuges or trustable ultimately. Again, it doesn't mean just throw out everything, don't listen to any media, don't believe anything from any government people or anything like that. It's just that trust has to be in your whole process. That's the only way, at least from my perspective. This is all just from my perspective. It just seems to me that the only frame that can hold all of this is to trust the entire process. It's a means for me to let go, to trust again the path, the way, life, to let go again, to separate what I can actually do from what I have no control over. There's very little we really have control over. Again, there's no simple, um, except for trust of your process. Um, it's not the kind of instruction that you can hold on to and interpret as meaning don't do anything, because there may be things to do. But when you don't know what to do, there's not really anything to do. If something's really clear to do, then you do it. And until then, it's a hell of a scary ride, or can be. And we may never actually find that there's anything for us to do, but watch it all unfold as it does. We have lots of preferences. They might not be met, or they may be met. Things may fall apart. I mean, what even that means, I mean, I'm trying to keep it as general and vague as possible because everybody has different feelings about what that means, especially now. Things that we hold dear, things that we wish would continue may not continue. Things that we hold dear may fall apart. People that we thought we could trust may not continue to act in such a way that we feel trustable. We may be invested in things not working because we don't like certain things that are happening, and then things work better than we imagined they would. And that's a hard one too. It's going to be a mix of all of that, I'm sure. It has been for me personally already, so many different ways. Hmm. So what is there to do is to, in terms of feelings, is to hold them, merge with them, feel them, expand more. Whatever the story is in the next 4 years, I'll pick number of years out of thin air, right? Whatever, whatever, whatever happens in the next 4 years, um, things will be different in 8 years. They'll be different in 10 years. They'll be different when we're gone. Everything is changing. We don't have control over it. May be nothing we can do about it. It may not be anywhere near what we think in terms of what to be afraid about, what not to be afraid about, what the results are. We don't know. It's all unknown. I think mostly we wish, I mean, I don't know. I think mostly we wish it wasn't so unknown. We don't like it being so, you know. Um, I think it's important to recognize how much projection goes on um, when you're at a campsite and you can't see more than 5 feet away from you. You're around a campfire and you hear noises out there and you don't know what's going on. You know there are wild animals out there and you hear things going on. We don't know, you know, we can project a lot of fearful things out there, and to watch our minds do that is an opportunity for us to find stability beyond circumstances.
Well, I guess sometimes in relation to meditating and all the stuff that's going on, um, I always find it weird when people describe meditation in a certain way, which is funny because the way they describe it is the normal way to describe it. It's the way I think of it that's weird. Because I think that's just a cultural thing that people think of meditation as this kind of type of medication. Like, I'm not being normal enough, I'm not being calm enough. And so I will meditate and I will become a calmer, better person, and I will be able to deal with this. And I, I that's just not the way I think about it.
Hmm.
But I have caught myself lately, um, when I'm tense, thinking about it that way because I'll go meditate and it's like, oh, uh, when I stop and everything just comes crashing back in, suddenly thinking, oh, maybe I needed to do it longer, as though
Right.
somehow I'm going to use it to flush this thing out. And
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, neither this nor that. I mean, I hear you.
Mhm.
Um, well, what do you think meditation is? Like, how do you think about it?
How do I think about I was
Yeah, when
afraid
you're
you'd
not thinking about
ask.
it that way, how are you thinking about it?
Yeah. Um, it's like a different state of it's like being in a different state of I guess consciousness or something. The different parts of it are different. Um, there's always a part for me that's it's like an exercise wherein you know I just work really hard to do the things they tell you to do, because I'm having trouble concentrating and in rushes all the annoying thoughts and the things like that. But at some point it ceases to be that and ceases to be something else and starts to be something else. Um, yeah, I guess what I'm starting to say here is I'm kind of annoyed that all this stuff is changing it into something I never thought of it as, or haven't thought of it as for a very long time.
Right. Understandable. I mean, it's more, I mean, you, that meditation, um, I don't know that meditation has changed, even for you.
No,
I,
I don't think the
no, I don't think,
way I think about it.
yeah, I don't think it is. I think the way you're t speaking about it is actually the way it is.
Uh,
And I do feel that, um, it's like there's meditation itself, and then there's the one who approaches meditation, like the one who's coming to the cushion. The one who's coming to the cushion can have all kinds of um, intentions or coming at it with all kinds of desires or fears, hopes. And those can change depending on circumstances. But meditation itself doesn't. It's just that you may have to spend a little bit more time before you drop into, like you said, at the beginning it's like this, and then it's no longer that. And it's sort of like it may feel like, oh, I need a therapeutic thing. I need to become more normalized. But then once you start to sit, it's like, what's normal, what's not normal, letting go of mind, letting go of that. And you move into the state where you're the awareness of all of that. And as the awareness of all of that, you're not particularly interested in having it continue or not or stop. It doesn't matter in one way or the other. I mean, um, it's not but you're not um paying attention to the content so that you get drawn back into it. No, there might be thoughts and all that, but you're being the space aware of it, and being the space that's aware of it. By nature it becomes quieter and quieter, but whether it does or it doesn't matter, because you're already the quiet in which the noise is happening. um in terms of when you get up off the cushion, that space is still there, and it can bleed through. Um, one of the quickest ways, I don't know, quickest, yeah, quickest, probably, is to go after or bring attention to the meditator. It's like that salt doll that enters the ocean, even prior to it entering the ocean, recognizing it's just a salt doll. Because, a state can change and then the eye dissolves. But whether the eye is there or the eye is not, the awareness of the eye is what you are. Or the awareness of the lack of eye is what you are, either one. So when we get up and we walk around and we're involved with stuff and it's like, oh my God, Jesus, um, he just fired the Pope or whatever the hell it was. Oh no, he gave notice to the Dalai Lama. Oh no, he's just re he's just renamed Nepal. Okay, whatever it is, right? Then it's like, who is it that's going, oh no? Who is it that's, I'm curious, like, what's that? Oh, that's a mental process. Or we're acting to another mental process. It's like, um, in this moment, there is nothing but two conceptual processes that are actually one conceptual process. There's a conceptual process about reacting to things that were heard or read, and then there's the conceptual process of a person going, oh no, this is horrible. I should be like this or that. Those are two conceptual processes. And there's awareness of them. And that's freedom already. But see, it's freedom from being that I. It's not the dissolution of the I immediately. It doesn't have to be the dissolution of the I immediately. And so it doesn't really have to be a state change. It's not that you have to be in the state of meditation where there's no I or there's a deep state of relaxation. There can be a great stress and a clear seeing that the stress of, I mean, you've had this happen. People have, without having words or language for it, there's been times when it was just too much and you can feel the quiet. It's like, I'm reacting and there's a little bit like, this is fake. Like even my reacting is fake. Like there's a hollowness to the whole thing. There's and but see, none of that is required. Seeing it as hollow or anything, it's just like a side effect. The point is even if it's very dramatic and it's very believed in, oh my goodness, if there's an awareness of what is it that's reacting, what is it that's aware, like going, oh my God, a seeing of that, noticing that, immediately there's freedom from the whole process, and you then are just simply space. You can't even say it's a you. You could just say space is aware. And that space that's aware is always free and is freedom itself. And it's also your base identity. So that can happen too. And that's not exactly meditation. And that's not exactly healing. It's cutting things at the root. It's a kind of radical teaching. It's seeing that whatever drama is going on around everything is not you. Um, and it doesn't mean that the I doesn't return and isn't frightened, but is frightened with an additional remembrance of a perspective that's larger than it. And then it can, every once in a while, you can return to that. It doesn't have to be continuous. You just keep doing it every once in a while. It's like, who is it that's having this thing? And who is it that's remembering it now? And not asking the question so you can have an answer. It's something more like, Where's my hat? The answer, it's back there, is it's just information. Where's my hat is, oh, I got it, right? It's like, it's not a question that gets an answer that's informational and that's what its purpose is. It's a question that is snap one out to see how it is, to see how it is, to see what the I is. Um, right. So there is a there is a kind of it's like bringing an additional perspective. If we talk in the world of dualistic, which is perfectly fine, we could say the world of the therapeutic, the world of the coping, the world of healing, the world of needing tools, that stuff. Bringing an additional perspective in is a bit like you're seeding you're seeding the atmosphere to go through a change, to expand in some way. So in some way you could even say the insight of no self seeds. It's so weird. It's like in and of itself, it isn't medicinal. It's transcendence. It's not about healing the ego so that the ego could survive better and all of that. I mean, it literally isn't. I mean, this is all not like very American, but it's really entirely possible to be free and homeless. It's entirely possible to be free and um, die young. You know, like I could tell you stories that was like, and this has been for me, and I had this conversation recently with Kent. This has been for me a kind of um, a continuous friction because I fully understand the thing of like hearing such stories and getting freaked out about them and saying, this is an example of why yogis are, psychotic or they're not quite right or whatever it is. Or the Christian saints walked barefoot and didn't take showers and had robes and wandered from town to town. These are just crazy people, like for me, it's not that there weren't some crazy people or they might be crazy, but that's so what? That's not the whole thing. That's it you can't define things that way. And it doesn't like if the point is made that we need better mental health or we need to live more in our bodies or we need to be more emotionally in touch or we need to have better communication skills or we have to treat our neighbor better. All of that. Yay, I'm in favor. I'm a fan. And a lot of in waking down, a lot of it's been about that what we call embodiment, which I think is a very vague term because it's never really clearly defined what exactly is really being embodied. Um, but but it means owning your humanness more. That much we could say. That's all great. And okay, here, if I'm going to be as much of a radical critiquer as my friends who critique that from that other side, I'd say to be just as radical, I'd say that's a first world problem. That's a first world issue. Not everybody on the planet in all the thousands of years it's been around has had time to do therapy. Not everybody has had centralized heating. Not everybody can be heard and seen by people who support them. Now, I'm not saying that I don't want that. And that's not a great thing to move toward, but it ain't necessary for the pinnacle of spiritual experience. It isn't even the point. A person who has nothing and has a government in shambles and is living in the wreckage of the apocalypse can be Buddha, can be radiant with relaxation and trust. And I'd rather not be in that situation, but we might not have any choice. And it's not bad to entertain worst case scenarios just so you can go, okay, if it comes to that, I can still be a Buddha. I can still be a Mother Teresa. All right, whatever you think of her. Maybe that's a bad example. People, I don't like her. Okay, good, whatever. Pick your favorite out of all the baseball cards of all-star spiritual saints. Just take them out. Pick your favorite. But I mean, Teresa of Avila, whatever, or um, Mira from you know Krishna's devotee. All the all the these people all had valuable lives that were transcendent, that were sitting in bliss, that were sitting in love. Maybe they didn't have the best communication skills. Maybe, they weren't in touch with their full feelings. Maybe they had issues. It's just a personality. We all have one, and they're never gonna be done. Never. Now, maybe someday all of my uh, anger issues will be gone. All this, but I don't know. I've seen a lot of awakened people in transcendent traditions and awakened people in embodied traditions, and they're all fucked up. I mean, there's nobody who's you know, like you could look at them from a particular angle, any of them, and go, look, guy never worked a day in his life and he lived in a diaper. What is that? Homeless guy. Never did it. He hung out with his mother his whole life. What kind of communication? He was in silence for years in a cave. My God, this is some real weird shit. I mean, it's ridiculous. Quite honestly, the critiques are ridiculous when it comes to if they're fine for an example of people spiritual bypass. Okay, that's the thing, but let's be nuanced about it. What exactly did they spiritually bypass? Is a spiritual bypassing sometimes a survival technique? Yes, that's exactly right. Well, isn't it okay for them to do that? There's so many ways of approaching the same material. I don't like to have it defined as because um right now we could find ourselves in very hazardous circumstances. And we might not, I hope not, but we might. And there may be some things to do politically. There may not be. I don't know. I don't know what everybody's politics is here anyway. I've spoken to people who blew my mind, like, oh, they think that. Wow, I never knew that. Okay. Um, the point is that if you live in a universe where you have no control over the outside world or what other people do or what other people think, um, then you're in a very vulnerable position in terms um, of what our lives are going to look like. So awakening happens in any circumstance. We might not have time to heal all of our issues. We might not have time to be heard and seen the way we want to be. We might not ever finish our processes. So right now, resting in being, right now, trusting that your process is as it should be. That's all we can do, really. Um, yes, peace in the sense of resting and being. It may be more difficult on the horizontal level because of what's happening. And that just means that there's more chance to purify. There's more chance for us to let go of things that we didn't even realize we were attached to, or we knew we were attached to, but didn't think we were going to have to give up. Um, the thing about fears like this is that even if you end up not having to let go of things, being internally prepared to and recognizing that you have to, um, it's a bit like, how can I be free if I'm going to be constantly triggered by someone that's in charge of the country for the next 5 years, maybe for the next 20 years? How can I be at peace if everything depends on other people? I can't. You know, Christ lived during the Roman Empire. Look what happened to Christ. Did he live the kind of life that he should have lived? Most definitely. Short, but it was exactly the life that he was supposed to have. It's the only frame that works for me. All else is an impossible task. Now, this is not easy. This is kind of like a tapas or a fire of purification to acknowledge that I'm not in control. In some way, you could say he's the greatest spiritual teacher that this country ever had in the last. Why? Because he's forcing us to let go. He is like, feet to the fire. You think you can trust in that? Aha. You think the dollar is going to be stable? Ah. You never thought a depression could happen in this country? Ah. No nuclear attacks? Are you crazy? We need that. I mean, I don't want it. I'm not wishing it. Anything can happen. We know it. We know it. It's all a game of poker. It's all a game of bluffing now. And it's really not a great game of bluffing. It's not fun for a lot of people. For some people, it's a blast. But whatever it is, the thing is that we don't know. We don't know. And so if it's dependent on us knowing, if our peace is dependent on us knowing, if our resting and being is dependent on us knowing, then we are at the mercy. We are slaves to a whole bunch of people out there, to a whole bunch of forces out there. Hmm. And choose your side. There are people who feel like they're slaves to the forces of the liberal media and all that stuff. The other. So in either case, it works. The point is, we live in a universe where there's other beings that can do what they want, including dictatorships, murder, rape, all the trigger warnings, just take them all out and they can do all of it. We've always lived in a world like this, but we kind of didn't want to think it could happen and because it made us feel comfortable and safe. And now many of us don't feel so comfortable and safe. So we need to find our refuge inside space, inside the spacious mind. Yeah. And that would include having enough grounding that we do what we have to do if things should arise. Because there, I mean, you could just think of a million ways in which we could very well have to do things that we don't have a skill set for, that we never had to thought we had to figure out we had to do. So just to be grounded enough in being itself to be ready for anything. Boy, I had no idea I was going to be saying this stuff tonight. This is Kathy.
You're right. I mean, you're really kind of getting me in touch with my illusion of control, which I didn't know I had at that level, but clearly I do, or I wouldn't be bothered.
Right.
Mm.
Hmm. Yeah. So you're not alone. uh, yeah. I mean, could you imagine the amount of money that you'd have to pay for a retreat where a spiritual teacher would put you through this? I mean, this would be like the intensive, face your fear intensive. Come out the other side, a different person. And it's happening for free. Wow. Or maybe not. I don't know if our money, we'll see if our money's worth anything in 5 years. But in any case, it's certainly a crash course. And it's so funny. It may be nothing. We might be like, oh, everything, nothing really actually happened that affected me, of course. But then, enough has already happened that we can't really say that. So, hmm. But ultimately, nothing will affect you, ultimately and truly. In a relative sense, of course. But ultimately, it is our nature that none of this can touch us. And whatever reacting and goes on is happening at hmm, there's no way to do justice to it. So I'll just stop there because I don't mean to downplay the kind of hmm, pain that will happen and suffering that happens through outward circumstances, but ultimately we are hmm, free in God always, and that's the only way in which we're always free. You know. Hmm. Okay, so this is the apocalypse satsang. We got